My guest on the show today is Martine Wilson, Oceanic Director of a global organisation called Generosity Path. They're a not-for-profit whose goal is to spark a generosity movement in every nation by the end of 2027, unlocking local funding for mission initiatives through empowering and equipping the church to develop generous disciples. Martine, welcome to the program.
Hi, Lizzie. Thanks so much. It's great to be here with you and your listeners today.
That's quite an audacious goal that you guys have got, right?
Yes, absolutely. But it's amazing seeing how God's working, and it's really feel actually that God is working across the world and across different Christian organizations to really, I feel the time's right for this. And we're seeing that in the way that different organizations are calling Christians to live out their faith in authentic and radical ways that really meet the need and the cry of the world that we're seeing around us today.
Yeah, how long has Generosity Path been around, Martine?
Not that long. We were born out of a generosity movement in the US, not even 10 years ago. And so Generosity Path was started up to focus on the rest of the world. So we are trying to spark generosity movements in every country of the world by the end of 2027.
That is very cool indeed. Hey, so I know you guys have got these courses that are available for churches. Am I right that they're free courses?
Correct. Yes,
Very
it's called
cool.
The Journey of Generosity.
Yeah, is that jog for short?
Yeah, that's right. But I won't make you do any running. Don't worry, Lizzie.
Good. I do like to exercise, but not that one. Journey of Generosity. Tell us about these courses and what happens and the impact it has on people that are part of them. Love to hear.
Oh, great. Yes. Well, the Journey of Generosity is an interactive experience that creates a safe space for people to talk about a topic that, as Christians, we generally don't really talk about, and that we find really hard to bring up in church. It's not something that we talk about with our peers. So really that's how the Journey of Generosity was birthed, out of a sense that we need to talk about this aspect of our faith that is a core part of how we live out as Jesus followers in the world. So we make a promise that in the Journey of Generosity, no one will ever be asked for money or told how they should live more generously. It's a safe space for conversation and reflection and hearing from God. So we do that through some beautiful stories, real stories of generous givers from around the world. And with generosity, not just being about money. So some of the stories are about being generous with time or knowledge, expertise, but also money. And then some time for reading scripture together and group conversations and questions, some pretty simple questions, but just space for God to speak to people about what is he putting on their hearts for how they could be living their lives and living out their faith in a more radical, authentic way. So that's what it's about. A series of sessions that can all be downloaded for free from the Generosity Path website, and that work really well in people's homes, but also through church home groups. You know, it's something that you can do over a number of weeks in a church home group or connect group, and the materials are all there ready for you to just press play and share them with your group.
Something that you said twice there, Martine, which I really like, is that you talked about hearing God. So, you know, you're giving information, you're teaching people maybe to start to look and view things a different way. But it sounds to me there's a high priority on having that dialogue with God and hearing what he's got to say. That's where transformation really happens, isn't it? When he speaks to our hearts and we hear and we respond.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, we know that generosity all starts with him, don't we? And we see that, John 3:16, that God so loved the world that he gave us his one and only son. And it's not about us, is it? But through the journey of generosity experience, people go through this transformation of head, heart, and hands. And there is a real I guess an aha moment, a real magic working moment of people making that connection between what God has done for them and how they treasure Christ, and what it looks like for them to treasure Christ more than their stuff, and then how to actually do that. So some of the sessions in the journey of generosity help people to start to make some decisions about living it out, being a bit more intentional, what that looks like to do it together, because we know that this is hard. This is not, we're not calling for easy answers. It's pretty challenging. And some of the stories are really, really confronting and really you can't watch them and not be impacted by them. So there is that exploring, how do we do this together? What does it look like as a church community to respond to some of the needs we're seeing around us? And and then the transformation that we're just seeing around the world in a real diversity of communities. So really poor communities in Ethiopia to much more affluent communities in Southeast Asia, that God is just doing a really beautiful thing in equipping Christians to live out their faith in such a way that it really is having a profound impact on their surrounding community. And they're then thinking, what's going on there? What are those Christians doing? Why are they living like this? Why do they care about me in a way that I've never felt cared for before? And so we're seeing people becoming Christians through acts of generosity that the church is then taking up. It's beautiful.
It's really beautiful. I'm thinking in the process of an individual, that we can take it for granted so much what we have. I'm standing in this great studio. I have a job that I love. A lot of us have homes that we live in that we enjoy living, our families. But when you think about it, it all came from God in the first place, didn't it? I mean, he gave it to us. And for me, and I don't know if this is something that you focus on, but for me, it's often when you realize something like that, it's a sense of letting go and sort of letting it, giving it back to him in a way. Do you know what I mean? Not that he's going to take everything away, but learning to hold things, particularly stuff, lightly, I guess. Is that something that would resonate with you?
Yeah, that's a big message in the journey of generosity, that we are helping believers to remember that we are just stewards of everything that he's given to us. I mean, even the educational opportunities that we've had, and as you mentioned, yes, our homes, our stuff. How can we surrender that and trust him with that? And I mean, the crazy thing is that we see that when we do take those steps, it actually, God's way is to bless us with joy and with a real freedom. And I mean, our byline in the journey of generosity is live freely, because we do really believe that we experience freedom and a real joy and a treasuring of Christ in a way that otherwise we do find really hard as believers to experience that.
Yeah, and you touched
on... It is about surrender.
For sure. You touched on Ethiopia before. Often you hear people say these things, I went and I visited this place and these people, and they had way less than I've got, and yet they seem so much happier. I mean, seems to be a thing, right?
Yeah. Yes. One of the stories that we have in the journey of generosity really challenges the participants about, are we focusing more on our stuff, or are we focusing on Jesus? and the story of the two rich men in Luke and the different responses that they take in being willing and having a heart to open their hands and offer it to God to use, or are we too scared? Are we holding on to it? And then we miss out, don't we? We miss out on the blessings that God has for us in surrendering and trusting him, but also the blessings that he's going to bring to others around us when we do open our hands and take that posture of surrendering and trusting him.
Yeah, open our hands and open our hearts. Martine, for people who are listening thinking this sounds like a cool thing, I wouldn't mind doing this journey of generosity. Your website, is that the best place to go?
Yes, absolutely. generositypath.org.
Generositypath.org.
And you can find out everything. Yes, you can find out everything you need there. You can create an account and start downloading the Journey of Generosity sessions and think about who you'd like to share them with in the new year, perhaps, or over the summer.
That's great. Martine Wilson, thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks, Lizzie.
Hey, thanks for joining us today. Make sure that you like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you can catch all our interviews on Star. See you next time.